And he said the first word, and I'm horrible. Just so great. Moved around the street. See, being in a as you said, I've been going through some tough times physical. It's been a challenge. It's been something new to me. I've always been healthy and able to carry many tasks at one time. And so it's taken a real toll in how to readjust in it. I am getting better. Not 100%, but better. I want to thank all for those who have been praying in your behalf. And it's really, you can feel it when people broke through. And I think it's because of that I am having. So I'm grateful. Continue to pray for me. Sarah says I've got 2 more years. No productivity. Good.
15 more years at minimum.
I look at Marcy. I'm just a kid. So, Marcy, you're an inspiration to the older people that of you and your ability to help and help means a lot. I've been asked to share a little of what what is the heart behind what we are doing, what Gene and I committed ourselves to originally. So I need to give a little background to that. I'll be sharing a few things of my prior experiences in business, not to boast about what I did, but it had a great bearing on being able to use what God has given us to help Davis birth this thing called created Rivendell in the past. So I'll share that a little bit. I got out of school, not a Christian. My sole goal was to be a millionaire by age 30. I sought that. That was my passion. But along the way, there's a lot of stories in between that. But along the way, Gene found the Lord. And I was stubborn, arrogant, didn't think I needed God, wasn't against God, but I didn't think I needed Him. I had it all together. Things were working well, and I just didn't think about it. And when Jean had her amazing Damascus Road experience with the Lord, it took me 7 years. I was that stubborn. It took me 7 years watching her see life change. And at some point in there, I did find Jesus. And my life radically changed. I saw what God was doing in her life, which I didn't understand. And then all of a sudden, it just, boom, it opened. And I saw the first time what it was doing and could do for me as well. So, Norment, which we had a grew from a very small company to a relatively large company. 5 of them doing work all over the world. Loved it. But I drastically changed, and therefore Norment changed, because the leader that began to bring Jesus, a whole bunch of stories involved in that and what we did. But it became like a church in a sense, to a lot of employees and a lot of vendors and things of that nature. Ended up selling Norment in 1990 to a large Swiss-based company. It was one of the largest multinational companies in the world. And Gene and I were fortunate at that time to walk away with immense wealth. And so that put my thought into what I do in retirement. As with all of us, we're able to justify just about anything, if we put our mind to it. Some of it's not good. So of course I started thinking about retirement. I started thinking about, I was looking, I love boats. I was looking and getting down to the final choice of choosing about a 125-foot yacht that Gene and I were going to cruise the islands of the Caribbean. So that really became a passion of mine to be able to do that. And I think the Lord knew that. Before, one of the stories in this is when I actually found Jesus. I had started going to church occasionally. We began to meet the pastor and know him, and I did, and I just became friends. And I went on just occasions, special occasions. And I remember I was in the back of the church. I didn't want to get up front. I didn't know what would happen up there. But I was almost on the back row. And it's just like it's real today. I began to shake, sweat, violently. I didn't know what was happening. I thought it was, gosh, am I having a heart attack or what is this? But I had that impression that I needed to go and commit my life and my business to the Lord. So I sat there, and I'm telling you, sweating. I had a coat and towel, and I was pouring, shaking violently. And I leaned over to Gene, and I said, Gene, now I have to go down front. I have to accept Jesus. And she said, well, Bobby, just wait a little bit. That's the next order of service. I didn't know the right orders at that point. She said, well, that will be a time to do that. So I said, okay. So I sat down, I just was shaking more. And I leaned over again. I said, Jesus, Gene, I'm here. I leaned over and said, Gene, I can't sit here any longer. I just can't. In the seat, she said, I remember the words, well, whatever. So I got up, walked down the aisle. Pastor was preaching at the pulpit. And I walked down there, and I just stood there right before him. And he looked at me and he said, Bobby, can I help you? And I said, well, you can. I want to commit my life, my business to the Lord. So, not knowing the order of things in churches or how it works, he stopped the service. And I knelt and prayed. It was a great time with all people, but I began to take and taste firsthand, what it was to know Jesus personally. So I can relate to what Christian was saying very well. Ended up selling Norment after 30 years to the Swiss-based company I was sharing, Alumni Holding Limited, one of the biggest companies in Switzerland. And Gene and I were walking away with potentially immense wealth. That's when I began to look at yachts, justifying that. That's what I do next. Jesus was in that, you know how you justify things. And, but I got a call. I reported into England, who reported into Switzerland, my company. I was a good-sized company, but it was a small fish in a big pond. And I remember receiving a phone call, and we got to know this gentleman very well. He was on our board, and he said, Bobby, are you sitting down? And I said, do I need to? And he said, yes, you do. So he began to share with me that the next day, Omni Holding Limited was filing for bankruptcy. Now, I'm sitting there with hundreds of people, families counting on me. I'm sitting there seeing 1 minute yachts and Caribbean, and the next minute I was looking at, I may have nothing. Nothing. And so that was a long part of the journey. It took us months to walk through some of that. I remember when I went back and shared with Gene, and we prayed about it. And I remember calling, and I got the number of the administrator of the bankruptcy, who was in the Netherlands, because there were 70 banks worldwide. I mean, it was huge. And I felt the Lord tell me to call him. So I did. And I told him who I was, and it was one of the companies involved in that, and that I would like permission to sell Norment outside of that. And he said, Miss Norment, you can't do that. That's impossible. There's 70 banks, it's and many thousands of people involved. We can't allow you to sell Norment. You're in the mix. See, my stock was held in Barclays Bank until the time the finalization was done. But so I went back, and Gene and I prayed again that night, and I felt the impression, call him out. So I did. I called him back the next day, and I said, I forgot his name now, but I said, Mr. So-and-so, I feel an urge to call you back and ask you, can I sell Norment? And I heard the silence on the other end, very quiet. And he said, Mr. Norman, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I will give you 1 week to resell Norment. 1 week. And if you can't do it in 1 week, it won't be done. It's forgotten. So of course I came back, grateful for that, ended up going out, and in 4 days resold Norment for a fraction at that time of what we originally had. Now I tell that story because that really set up this thing of what I do next. I wasn't on a 125-foot yacht with a chef and a captain and a steward and cruising the islands. I was with a little nest egg that she and I could live on, and so that was the place we were at that time, and that then led to the next steps of leading me. Now, what do we do? What's our next phase? I'm not taking that right, obviously. And so we ended up joining Davis at YWAM, Youth of Mission, in Kona, Hawaii. And I became the Chief Operating Officer and Chief Financial Officer there for 13 years. And that was a real changing time for me. I was able to meet with a lot of parents, a lot of young people, and ask them questions. And I was like most parents. I knew things weren't right in, the colleges and schools, but I had no idea of the depth of it. It's from that that God began to put that burden of, I want something different. And I want you to do it. So that is where we began to see not only the educational system, but meeting all these precious young people. In my heart, I gained a passion to see them have another alternative than what's out there. Things have gotten much worse, as we know, since then. But I thought about this, and I said, wow, this is the fate of our nation. These young people, in a very short number of years, will be leading this country. And I said, something has got to happen. So that gave me the passion to join Davis to begin to develop this thing we called Rivendell, and now created. I thought this would be, I thought the walk would be easy. I thought to myself, gosh, if I can run a multi-million-dollar company doing work all over the world with 5 divisions and many, many employees, this will be a walk in the park. Be easy. Couldn't be harder. Whoa. Did I miss that one? We didn't know what was out there. We didn't know the state of how entrenched the enemy was into the field of education and young people, and how he would fight them. And it was through that we went down many paths. There were some right and not knowing, some were wrong. But we learned each time. And we thought we became better and better and better. We had a lot of events that happened, many, many stories in that. But I'll have to admit to you, this has been a very challenging, hard, and often painful journey. Hadn't been easy. Still not easy. But I know that we're heard from the Lord, and I want to be totally obedient to that. I remember at some point in that, I remember the Lord asked me a question. And this, I didn't hear an audible voice or anything, I just felt that impression that
Are you willing? To give it all. To give it all. Give up everything for this dream. And I said, well, I've done that. And he gave me the impression that, no, you haven't. You've got a nest egg. You've got plan B, maybe even plan C. And I thought, I want to know from you, are you willing to give it all? So I remember going there to Jean, and I shared with her what I think God had told me. And I thought maybe she would bail me out, and come up with something. Well, we don't need to do that, but Jean, that's not the case. We prayed about it. We talked over it. And we agreed that, yes, we were willing to give it all. And so, at that decision, we took the nest egg that we had put aside for the, plan B, and we committed to put it into, created at that time, Rivendell at the helm, fostered this vision that that God had given. So it's been an amazing journey. It's, as I say, it's been difficult at times, but one thing I've learned that when you have enough resources, we had it all our life, you don't really know how to depend on God. You really don't. You don't, because we've got another alternative. And for the first time, with having nothing, I'm able to depend on Him and experience along the journey the little miracles that take place daily to make something happen when I can't make it happen. I mean, there was a day we could have funded many of these things, but so we walk this walk. I don't regret any of it. I just look at the fruit out there. Look at you. Look at these young people. It's worth it. Now, I'm not saying what Gene and I did is right for everybody. It's not. Don't go jumping out there and doing wild and crazy things. You've got to hear from the Lord. But I can tell you, the journey is different. But you're daily walking in God's presence and in faith. I still struggle with that word, faith. You can't have it until you have nothing. I hate to say that, but from my experience, for me, that was true. You have to experience that to where you're dependent on Him to do everything. And we've been joined by dear friends, investors, donors, and by God's grace, we are where we are. Has it all resolved itself? No. Do we have some ways to go? Absolutely we do. But I can tell you the joy of this thing when I look out there and look at you all and know your stories, know how it impacted you, how it changed you, it's worth everything. It's for Gene and I, it's worth it all. Now, why am I doing this? I think young people today are caught in an era of confusion, in a time when we need to help them get on the right path. There's so much coming at them today that we as parents can't even comprehend. We didn't have that. There's just so much, and they want to get there, and they need some help to do that. Just look at it. Look what's going on. At least you hear the news. Look what's going on. Our institutions are crumbling. And it's because of the heart. That's why they're failing. Anything, the means justifies the end. And we're experiencing firsthand as it's coming forward. I think we have another way, a desire, and following Davis in this, to provide another way to educate. And we've got other ideas on that I think are far better than what's out there today as an alternative. And this is an alternative. There really not been any alternatives to higher education. And we think God is birthing something that will do that. And I desire, and Gene does, to leave a legacy that will live on far beyond our days. That we can live out there and see, know that hundreds, maybe thousands of students, when they in multiple locations, God willing, they could experience this journey, what you wrote, to see their lives changed. I know one thing of two quotes. Lenin, communist, he had a saying, give me one generation of youth and I'll change the world. Abraham Lincoln said, the philosophy of the classroom in one generation will be the philosophy of the government in the next. Will have true leaders. You are the future. And this world needs you desperately. And I want to close with reading something that I read once before, but it's very, very impactful to me. And it says, living for the right reasons. It's one's life does not but does not consist of the abundance of the things he possesses. That's in Luke 12. It is said that in 1923, 7 of the world's most successful men met in a Chicago hotel in 1923. The president of the largest independent steel company, the president of the largest utility company, the greatest wheat speculator, the president of the New York Stock Exchange, a member of the president's cabinet, the president of the Bank of International Settlements, and the president of the world's greatest monopoly. They made up They had more wealth with those men than did the federal government in the United States at that time. And this article says, fast forward that 25 years. Charles Schwab, president of the largest independent steel company, lived the last 5 years of his life on borrowed money and died a pauper. Arthur Cougar, the greatest wheat speculator, shot himself. Richard Whitney, president of the New York Stock Exchange, spent 3 years in prison. Adam Paul, a member of the president's cabinet, went to prison for bribery. Leon Frazier, president of the U.S. Bank of International Settlements, shot himself. Ivan Kruger, head of one of the world's largest monopolies, committed suicide. What this is saying, money brings neither security nor happiness. Yes, God will bless us, some of us, with money. That's in Deuteronomy. And he will do it for 2 reasons. One, because he delights in seeing his redeemed children walk in his blessings. That's in Psalm 36. Number 2, because he expects you to use your money to reach a hurting world with God's love. If these 2 things, if those 2 things, keep those in mind, you'll be living for the right reasons. Protect. And you young people, you have to make that decision. Are you going to follow the Psalm? It may cost everything, including your life. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? Gene and I can say, from my point of view, it's worth it. It's been a joy. And it's been a joy to follow my son in this business. I'm grateful to lead. I'm grateful for what he's given us. I think with the time, he hasn't given up anything, just some material things. I'm thankful for the board members and friends and what they have done to sacrifice to see this happen. But I can truly say, when I look around this room and see the fruit and see what God is doing in your life now and what you will do in the future, it is all worth it. Great memories. So when I go to be with the Lord, at some point, I will have been greatly, greatly blessed. It wasn't going to happen for us on a 125-foot yacht. Thank you.